Hello, my beautiful people. It's your boy trying to at least bring you another video. Now, today we will have our boy, and I am changing up this story quite a bit. Because, yeah, I'm changing it. I don't care. When this is because some of you were very young and dumb. Zuku, they were playing basketball and constantly fell and hurt her knee. And the rest of the students arrived blaming Zuku for what had happened. He tried to explain, he tried to tell Katsumi to explain to them what happened, but she was so absorbed in the popularity she was getting and attention, pamperment she was getting. She didn't even pay attention to him. And at that time, she was his crush. So that was heartbreaking. It was a reminder that males aren't anything in this world. Even though he knew that, he kept trying to protect it. One day, a beautiful woman, silky hair, long legs, and a body that could kill. She walked up to Zuko asking for his number. Of course, he gave her it because he couldn't really miss up this opportunity. And he had low self-esteem. He only criticized himself, not others. So they decided to meet up at a spot. Well, they decided to go to the Halloween party. But she said she can't make it. He's like, okay, alright, it's okay. But instead of not being there, he finds her with another guy, kissing him. This all happened in early middle school, elementary school through middle school. And in his second year of middle school, he was almost robbed of all emotion. So a girl came up to him. While he was at the library, she was nice. She didn't seem like the others. She was down to earth and calm. So they started going to the library. They started going to the library together. Small earthquake occurred. He fell on top of her. But this was taken greatly out of context. And when I mean it was taken greatly out of context, they labeled him a, you know what. And this is all in the middle of Izuku and Izuku's mother and his father breaking up, and his older sisters who had already awakened their powers and already got their classes, taking their anger out on him. acting like he did it, acting like it was his fault. In reality, he didn't do anything. He sat there in the corner of his room, bruises all over his body. He didn't cry. His emotions were too raw for him to cry. He didn't have enough emotions for that. He just sat in sorrow. Eventually, and it didn't stop there on people taking their anger out on him. His mother also did too. She acted like she was just punishing him. But it was really her own excuse for taking out her anger. She knew what was wrong. She knew what she was doing. But it was what she saw the only answer to her own problems. Taking them out on others. Eventually, Zuka got fed up with his behavior, fed up with her as a mother. He yelled back at her. This was a surprise for her. She didn't think he would clap back after everything he had already been through. But then she kicks him out. And he goes to the only place he can really call home. His uncle's place. So he realized that the things in his life, the misfortune, the sorrow, it isn't going to stop if he doesn't fight back, if he doesn't find a way to fight back. And towards the end of the middle school year, or his entire middle school year, all 3 years, they have to choose their classes. Girls could choose all of the classes, but boys could only choose 2. And that was the shooter and the drone supporter. The drone supporter was replaced by the healer, so they were really considered useless, having almost no offensive capability. And the shooter had at least some offensive capability, and people often became shooters so they could at least make some money. Saw herself killed, but Nezuko didn't want that. He knew with all the rumors going about him, he would never get signed to a guild. He would never achieve any of that, because they would just look at his track record and say, hey, this was said about you, you know that, right? He knew that very well. So he started taking solo dungeons. Obviously getting his ass kicked. He went back to the drawing board. He started figuring out use his hacking capabilities alongside with his drone. Because Zuko had became kind of something of a computer nerd that whole time. So he just kept on going, kept on striving. And he goes into a subway dungeon. These dungeons are more of along the base monsters for the dungeons live in this kind of a long hallways of garage doors, and it's just a little dark in there. So what the Zuko does is he takes sharp rock that was on the ground. He hides in one of the garage doors, and when a monster passes by, he slits his throat and goes back into the garage door, making his way around the other monsters that came to check out what the fuck happened. And also disposing of them. He knew he couldn't do this for long. The monsters would get stronger and stronger. He wouldn't be able to keep up with them with this battle tactic. So he bought something off the dark web. It's called an EMP. But this wasn't a normal EMP. It was a one that protruded electricity to shut down other devices. But this could be used other than just an EMP in his eyes. So he went into the dungeon. He hid in the garage doors like he normally did. But now he lets his drone loose from the garage doors, and it goes out and uses EMP, encircling the monsters in a ball of electricity, in a little sphere of electricity. They didn't actually get hurt that bad, but they got stunned. And since Zuko had actually done a lot of exploring in that dungeon, he found a lot of things. And one of those things was a python tooth. This tooth had already been shedded, but it still protruded poison. So he takes the tooth in his hand like a dagger, runs at the stunned monsters, shanking some of them, decapitating them, killing them. But then as he's moving down the line, moving towards the boss area, he's hit with an arrow. He hides behind some cover, gets his drone out, and they almost snipe it. So he retreats and makes up another idea, because he can't get close with his drone. He'll use it from long range. He calls it Transcendent Snipe. He charges his drone with EMP. Electricity will spark around it. And then from the little eyeball of it, a blast of red, a blast of dark red electricity would blast out and stun or even injure monsters. So he comes back, and instead of facing them head on, he sends his drone out, dodges the first arrow, and sends his own arrow out, transcendent snipe. He yells as a drone summons electric EMP to his core and just launches in a laser-like blast, shocking and injuring the monsters. He takes this as an opportunity and he gets closer with his drone. As they come back to their senses, he had already chucked water at them. There had been a little water nearby because they were goblins and they needed a lot of water to survive. There had been water nearby, so he just got a cup full of it and threw it at them. At first they were confused, but then as the water spilled on the floor around them, he activated another EMP, but this wasn't the transcendent snipe, because his drone had already got close. It was the spear-like one. They were easily overpowered and shot to death. He looks at the dead goblins, not even caring, because at this point, Izuku had lost almost all emotion. He gathers their items and finds a coat. It's the coat he's wearing now in the picture I have pulled up. He wears the coat, and but the version of it he's wearing is black and gray. This helps him with stealth and also helps him with the extreme cold in the dungeon. Because again, he was at this point in the story, he's just a little broke, so yeah. And over the years, and over the months before the UA exam, everyone is slacking off, just studying sometimes. But he's out there getting money. He's out there conquering dungeons, obtaining items. Then we cut back to Izuku and see him entering the boss room. At this point, Izuku had gotten pretty buff, just a little buff. He looks like how he is in the picture, but he's black. Stop. Yeah, but he is black. He has dreads like in the picture too, but his dreads aren't tied up, they're just hanging from his head onto his face. So yes, he has a pretty toned body, as seen in the picture. It's not very buff though, because I don't like to buff bodies. Anyway, let's continue. So he had got into the bathroom. Before even opening the door, he finds a small opening in the wall. He senses drawn to it, quickly observing the boss. He saw it was like a energy formed by shadow. It had looked like it had been formed out of small black flames. He proceeds his stroll from the boss room, looking the monster up, discovering that it was a mimic. Mimics copy your entire moveset. Copy your magic movesets. But he knew that the mimic wouldn't have anything from him to copy because he doesn't use magic. The only thing that's just a little bit of magic is his drone, and that's a stretch completely. So he enters the boss room confident. As the monster starts changing form, changing into him, he says, "Fuck." The monster changes into him, mimics him perfectly. It didn't care that he didn't have fucking magic. It still copied his ass. He's starting to hyperventilate because this is the first time he's dealing with a boss. I'm sure he had to deal with a lot of monsters in the past, but this one knew him perfectly. Maybe even more than he knew his own self. It knew every move he was about to make. It knew what he was going to do. It knew how to break him. It knew how to make his confidence and his will shake. It charges up an EMP, but instead of just letting the drone release it, he grabs the drone and absorbs the EMP from his own drone, launching it at Izuku. Izuku puts his drone in front of him, blocking the lightning. At this point, Izuku is just crazed and scared. The monster tries to charge up another EMP, but he just slams it. He choke slams it into the ground and starts punching it. He hadn't realized his new reflexes with his now toned body. He didn't realize he was that strong. Just started punching it over and over again. Blood tattered on his face and his clothes. The black flames dissipate from the monster as more and more blood comes from his face and is revealed to be a man he does not know. But instead of him helping the man, he decides that he's a grown-ass nigga so he can help himself. Yeah, he decides that he can help himself, so he takes the boss loot and leaves, obtaining items from the raid he just did. This one is who had damn near manifested his own fighting style. But one day, while he had just got back from his little dungeon raid, he was at his uncle's house, just chilling with him, talking with him. And there's a person who came at the front door. It was Katsumi. See, after the little incident was Katsumi, as a kindergartner, she loved the clouds and she kept chasing it. So she kept bullying him. And at one point it was fun. Especially because her parents had split up. She had someone to take her anger out on. But she was missing him. She was sad. She was worried. She didn't know what the hell he was. Not even Inko knew where he was. Because Inko didn't keep tabs on her own son.